Welcome to the channel and welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with all the latest regarding Bryan Mbeumo and where we're at currently with that deal. So Manchester United have reached a basic agreement to sign Bryan Mbeumo from Brentford. It is understood United are happy to pay a £60 million base fee with add-ons, set to take the overall package towards roughly £65 million. The only thing left to do is to finalise the payment structure of the £60 million and determine achievable add-ons that both clubs are happy with, and Mbeumo would then be permitted to undergo a medical and complete his media duties as new signing. Now, that came from Rich Fay, who's a decent source regarding United news as well, suggesting that that's where we're at with the deal, just ironing out the finer details, the payment structure, the add-ons, the achievable add-ons, how the add-ons will be paid, and all of that fajazzle. And then he's going to be allowed to complete his medical and do all the media duties as well. Now, Alex Crook and Ben Jacobs, who have actually been good when it comes to the Mbeumo story. Ben Jacobs has been spot on so far this transfer window as well, so shout out to him. Bryan Mbeumo medical at Manchester United expected to take place next week. So this deal is, you know, if the medical's going to be expected next week, that means we want to get him done before the 7th, and that's the main thing. So I think we're at that final stages of the deal where ironing out the finer details. Apparently, there are reports that he might be waiting to fly to Manchester to do his medical from his holiday and all of that stuff as well. So this deal is you know, I think we're just waiting for the here we go, or the David Ornstein bomber. Sully Talks, who's good, said that Bryan Mbeumo is expected to undergo his Manchester United medical and sign his contract next week. United are planning for Mbeumo to fly to Manchester from his holiday with only final formalities of the deal left now. And then Fabrizio Romano said that Man United hope to get the deal done within the next week. At the moment, there is still some work to do on the structure of the deal, structure of the add-ons, when to activate to pay these add-ons. There are details of this total package and structure to be clarified for Bryan Mbeumo to go to Manchester United. The club remains optimistic. Conversations will continue over the next days and over the weekend with Manchester United and Brentford. So we're at that final stage, just ironing out the nitty-gritty details, and then hopefully we'll get the official announcement, and then no doubt we'll have people online posting where his flight is and photos of him landing at Manchester Airport and all of that jazz that will come next with the Bryan Mbeumo transfer, and then eventually we'll get this done. So massively excited. Give us your thoughts and your shouts on all of that in the comments below. Now, there's been a few tears shed about Manchester United and our transfer dealings so far this window. So Luke Edwards from The Telegraph was actually the journalist. He's close to Newcastle. I don't know if he's a Newcastle fan or a Newcastle journalist, but he was the one that spread the BS around Mbeumo coming to United for the wages of £250,000 a week, which has totally been debunked. He's not getting anywhere near that sort of amount. It's going to be about 150, around that sort of price is what the more credible people are saying regarding his transfer. His salary has said that, you know, that the transfer fees Manchester United is paying for Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo are artificially inflating market prices, which is reportedly disrupting Newcastle's summer transfer plans. So there's been some tears from a Newcastle source about Man United buying Cunha and Mbeumo because it's interrupting Newcastle's transfer plans. Nothing to do with, you know, Liverpool paying £100 million for Florian Wirtz. That's completely ignored. It's United that are artificially inflating prices when we've paid £62.5 million, which is a release clause for Matheus Cunha, and are about to pay the same for a very good Premier League proven winger that behind Mo Salah had the most goals in the Premier League last season. So it's us that's the problem. Nothing to do with the fact that, you know, other teams have spent way more than us, but it's us that's artificially inflating the market, apparently. So, you know, I think everyone get their tissues out. We need to dry a few eyes, I think, regarding that. That does not scream of, because let's not forget Newcastle were linked with both Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo. I feel really sad for them. I feel really sorry. Like, I genuinely do. Give us your thoughts on that in the comments. Now, interestingly, Rich Face said that Ruben Amorim has made it clear he prefers signing players with Premier League experience as he looks to boost the overall fitness and athleticism of the Manchester United squad. He believes the team lacked the physical attributes needed to compete effectively in the league last season. I think that's accurate from Rich Fay, and again, Rich Fay is a good source as well, because Amorim was saying that as well. We had all the reports towards the end of the season as well about wanting us to increase the physicality and the athleticism in the squad, because we were absolutely rolled over in games in the Premier League because we have players that physically cannot cope with the demand. So going after Premier League experienced players, especially when we've got no Europe this season as well, and we're only really playing domestic, well, we are only playing domestic games, not only really, we are going to only be playing domestic games. It makes sense to go after players that we know can handle the physicality and can handle the Premier League demands, and people like Cunha and Mbeumo. Like Mbeumo's record, but the amount of games he's played at Brentford is insane as well. So that makes perfect sense for me to be profiling those sort of players, and it's about time we went back to getting some of the best players from the Premier League from other clubs. Because that's you pretty much know what you're going to be getting with those players. Yes, they still need to come in. It's different pressure at United until they put the shirt on and go onto the pitch. We just don't know. That's the only question mark around the signings, is can they do it at United? But I like the profiling of the players. I think it's the right approach to be going down. But give us your shouts and give us your thoughts on those stories in the comments below, as I am sure that you will. So let's go on to some other news. So I'm going to debunk a bit of this Gyökeres stories that are going around at the moment. So Viktor Gyökeres reopens door to Ruben Amorim, with Arsenal favouring Benjamin Sesko. Gyökeres could open the door for Manchester United. Now, that was posted by some aggregator accounts, apparently from a report from Ebola, Portuguese outlet, that are actually fairly decent as well. However, I think it's been a little bit misguided, because I actually saw the report, and what Ebola were actually saying were they were just putting out in their news story what the British media were saying. So they were saying, according to reports from the Star and the Mirror, that's what they were saying. So it didn't actually come from Ebola. So it's not like an exclusive or anything from them. What they were saying is that the information conveyed by newspapers such as the Daily Star and the Mirror that write that in the face of Arsenal's preference for Benjamin Sesko, Leipzig's Slovenian striker Viktor Gyökeres will have given the green light to listen to that. So and that's the translation. So forgive me for if it doesn't make sense. That was the Google Translate from the Ebola actual report. What they were saying was that the Star and the Mirror are reporting that Gyökeres has given the green light to go to United. They didn't actually report it themselves as well. So we need to be careful when going off of some aggregator sites. Not that they're not good, they're brilliant sites, but we need to be careful when stories are aggregated, because sometimes they are a little bit misleading. So that one is just Ebola saying, well, the Star and the Mirror are reporting that Gyökeres has opened the door for Manchester United. So yeah, we need to take that one with a pinch of salt. Now, the other story though that was in the Mirror, they were saying that Manchester United has regained the top spot in the race to sign Viktor Gyökeres, with the player keen to reunite with former manager Ruben Amorim at Old Trafford. So that was the story that I saw in the Mirror that Ebola were then putting out, that then aggregated sites have put out as a story from Ebola, but it's not. So it all came from the Mirror, and the Daily Star said something similar as well. But we need to just wait and see with Gyökeres. I don't think there's anything that's really changed regarding the situation. His preference is Arsenal because of the Champions League and obviously the stability of that club and the position that they're in ahead of United in terms of where their squad is and settled and all of that stuff. But he's not said no to United. It's just I would prefer to go there. But if that move doesn't materialise, then he's still open to come to United if United follow through on the interest, because we are linked with other strikers, and I think it's a bit of a game at the moment with the striker situation, because I think everyone's waiting for somebody to make a move, and it's going to be a bit of a domino effect with the striker, because if Arsenal do go for Sesko, then maybe we will move for Gyökeres, but then if we move early for Ekitike, for example, and then Gyökeres becomes available, will we maybe pivot towards him? What if Victor Osimhen becomes available later on in the transfer window and is happy to take a bit of a salary drop to come to. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's loads of different scenarios that could play out. So I think the striker one is one where they're going to be a bit patient just to see actually what happens in the market. Vlahovic might become an option if we spend a little bit more money on other areas for the price. Loads of potential scenarios that could play out. So I think that's why there's a little bit of slow movement in the striker market, but it's going to be really interesting to see who we go for once we get Mbeumo done, and then hopefully some exits. Maybe we'll actually see some movement in that department. But give us your shouts and give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now let's go through. So one of the other positions we're heavily linked with is the goalkeeper. So let's go through the latest there. So Manchester United want to find a new club for André Onana and have 40 million euro ready to sign Atalanta goalkeeper Marco Carnesecchi. Contacts took place with Atalanta today, who are asking for more money, developments to follow. So that came from Alfredo Badula, who is a decent Italian journalist, suggesting that United want to find a new club for Onana and have 40 million euros ready for Carnesecchi. Apparently, because United have maybe come in for Carnesecchi, they're now asking for 50 million euros. The 50 million euros is believed to be the price that you could get Costa for, and I'm sick of getting mugged off by Atalanta with prices because, we got our butts spanked with Rasmus Højlund for the price for him. However, Fabrizio Romano has said that Manchester United have been scouting several goalkeepers, including Carnesecchi, but no concrete talks or negotiations yet. Romano is saying that, look, United have spoken to several goalkeepers, but at the moment, there's nothing more than that. It's nothing more. There's no concrete talks, no bids, no negotiations, nothing like that. And I think, to going back to the video I did the other day when Laurie Whitwell was saying, look, we are speaking to players or making inquiries about players. And I think in the media at the moment, they're exaggerating that contact because it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to follow through. It's just maybe we're picking up the phone and saying, how much do you want for him? What's his wages? What's his availability? Would he want to come? And just doing some due diligence rather than actually, and then it's being blown out of proportion, I think, from a lot of the media and journalists as well, using big words like concrete talks and negotiations and all these words. That's what I think is happening at the moment. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. My phone is going absolutely off it with notifications. So what has happened? I bet it's going to be a bullshit story. Apologies, but oh my God, this is the second time I think while I've been recording a video that my phone has been going absolutely off it with notifications. So I'm thinking, Jesus, something big or something breaking's coming out. And it's just Tom Heaton doing an interview. That's the second time I've been interrupted doing a video because of Tom Heaton. And apologies. Let's go back to the news. So now, keeping with the goalkeeper situation, Manchester United will look to upgrade on André Onana. Diogo Costa is rated highly at Manchester United and is someone they're monitoring. Stroke could move for if their budget allows them to. Now, that came from a journalist that works for TalkSport, I believe. I'm not convinced by the credibility, but let me know in the comments if you think it's a decent source or not. But I'm not entirely convinced. But it is another report linking us with Costa. Remember, the reports over the last few days have been that his price has effectively dropped to around 50 million euros. There were reports that Amorim has had conversations or already had talks with Costa in January. The belief is that City were heavy favourites for Costa, but now Ederson might be staying at City as well. So it could, there's plausible, but I think it's going to be massively expensive. And in order to get Costa, we're going to have to sell Onana at that. And at the moment, the reality is there's no real links with Onana leaving. There's talk of Monaco, but Romano's debunked that, saying nope, there's no interest from Monaco in Onana and Saudi Pro League clubs. But again, Romano said no, there's not really anything concrete or any advanced negotiations or anything going on regarding Onana's exit. Obviously, that could be something that happens later on in the window and would be one to pay attention to. And Costa's at the Club World Cup as well, so it's not like Not like it's something we can do immediately anyway, but I'll keep an eye on it for you. Give us your thoughts, though, on that in the comments below. Now, this was an interesting story. So if you remember back to, I think it was yesterday's video, the reports are that after Mbeumo, we're going to go for a striker, midfielder, goalkeeper, and wing back. And we've mentioned, obviously, striker, a bit of striker news with Gyökeres, but I'm hanging fire. I'm reserving some judgment on those stories. I don't necessarily trust the credibility regarding that. Goalkeeper, we've just mentioned again. I think the stories around the goalkeeper are being over-exaggerated personally. And then the midfield. Now, this was a report that came out yesterday. So Manchester United are exploring a move for Paris Saint-Germain midfielder Warren Zaire-Emery. Man United have started making exploratory contacts to understand the possible conditions of a blockbuster deal. The 19-year-old French international is considered one of the most exciting prospects in Ligue 1 and has already made 125 appearances for PSG, scoring 8 goals and providing 9 assists. He is a quality player. Luis Enrique understandably wants to keep Zaire-Emery, but PSG have set a prohibitive price tag of around 100 million euros, so 85.3 million pounds. The French side are firm in their valuation, but haven't completely closed the door on a sale. If someone matches their valuation, Man United have held preliminary talks with Zaire-Emery's camp, and no further steps are expected soon. Now, that came from Rudy Galletti. Now, Rudy Galletti is already winning the bullshit transfer story of the window on the first day when he linked us with Rafael Leao, but was also a little bit ahead of the Bryan Mbeumo news, saying that they'd made a bid that for £63 million. He actually did it a day before any other journalist that came out. I don't know. I think this could be another contender for bullshit transfer story of the window. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Is this up there? I would love it. I think he's a fantastic young player, but you know, where we find an £85.3 million. Why would Emery want to leave PSG at his age? Why would PSG want to sell one of their best young players as well when they've just won, you know, everything this season and are building like a really good team? Just won the Champions League with him as well. I don't see how that makes sense. The only thing I can think of regarding that is that maybe we have had a conversation just to see if he'd want to come, because I do think that is happening. I think we are making contacts with multiple players. So when I hear all the transfer stories, I think there's some credibility in it, but I think it's over-exaggerated is my thoughts and feelings regarding that. And I would suspect that that's the case there, but that's got to be up there with one of the, you know, it's in contention anyway for BS transfer story of the window. Surely that's, yeah, like if for that sort of money, if we've got £85 million, I'd love it to go and get him. Don't get me wrong. I would be massively excited about signing Emery, but, you know, could you not get Belieber for that price? Could you not get, you know, Walton for that price as well, if you've got that money for a midfielder, because they're Premier League experienced players. If you go back to the report I bought earlier from Rich Fay, they want to bring in some more players that are Premier League proven. You could maybe go for one of those two for that sort of price as well. So I don't know. Let me know. You tell me in the comments what you think about that story. Is it in contention for bullshit transfer story of the window, or do you think there's something in it? Give us your shouts in the comments, and I will enjoy reading those later. The reality on the situation with transfers is once we get Mbeumo done, the belief is, the reports are, we're going to need a sell to reduce the wage bill, create squad space, and then gives us wiggle room then for the rest of the transfer window. So we need to get some exits done. So let's run through all the latest exit news. So Enzo Carnesecchi will be loaned out for 1 season. The next club is Lausanne. They finished 5th and play Conference League qualifications. So Christopher Michel is a good journalist. Confirming the belief, because that's not exactly breaking news. The belief has always been that Carnesecchi would go to Lausanne on loan, but Christopher Michel is one of the first journalists to come out and actually say that that's actually going to happen. We'll need to follow it through and see how that plays out, but you know, it is what it is. That'll be a good experience for him as well. It'll be interesting to see how he develops over there as well. But yeah, and the next exit we're going to go through. So this was interesting. So during discussions between Manchester United and Inter Milan, the Red Devils were offered the chance to sign Mendy, Taremi. Taremi was thrown into the mix by intermediaries acting on behalf of Inter Milan, with the Italian side keen to sell the Iran international. Manchester United's response was to politely decline the chance to sign Taremi. A striker the club has no intention of signing. The club's stance on Rasmus Højlund remains unaltered. United want a full sale this summer, uninterested in swap proposals. So that would have been interesting, that Inter Milan were potentially trying to do a swap deal for Rasmus Højlund and Woven Taremi. And United have refused it because we want to sell Højlund permanently if we're going to do anything with Rasmus Højlund. I think they want to sell. They might accept a loan towards the end of the transfer window, but I do think they want to sell Højlund permanently if he is to leave the club this summer. Let's move on to Marcus Rashford. So Barcelona want to offer a simple 1-year loan deal for Rashford, including a standard fee and paying a large part of his salary. They do not have any plans to buy him permanently due to the financial restrictions and a desire to bring in Nico Williams. Now, that came from Sean Connolly. Sean Connolly's a decent source for United, and I'm pretty sure that was the same Barcelona outlet or fan channel that were doing the interviews with Rashford the other day, suggesting that Barcelona just want a simple 1-year loan with this, including a standard fee and paying a large part of his salary. So Barcelona don't even want, according to that report, include an obligation or an option to buy or anything like that regarding Rashford. I'm not in a position to, say anything about someone's career, but why would you go to Barcelona for just a 1-year loan with no guarantee that they're going to want to keep you at the end? It doesn't exactly scream to me that they really want you. It just seems like they just want a stopgap and then maybe they want to spend money on different players next summer. That's how it feels to me regarding that. But obviously it's up to Marcus if he wants to go there for a year on loan, paying a large part of his salary as well. I mean, it is what it is. We are where we are with the Rashford situation. It's the same problem. It's the wage. Nobody wants to pay his wages. He's still got, 3 years, I believe, left on his contract as well. We're just going to have to see how it plays out and see what we can do regarding that situation. But if it's a loan, as long as they're paying a large chunk, as long as it's, the club are happy with it financially, then it is what it is. We'll just have to see how that one plays out. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments. And then the last player is Jadon Sancho. Let's go through all the latest there. So Juventus are expected to meet with Jadon Sancho's agents to secure a definitive and clear agreement for the transfer to Turin. Once a clear response is received from Sancho, Juve will work to quickly finalise a deal with United. That came from an Italian journalist on Sky. Jadon Sancho is very close to accepting the contract offer made by Juve's sporting director Comoli. Manchester United have confirmed their approval of the 25 million offered. The deal can possibly be closed next week upon Comoli's return to Europe. So that came from another Italian journalist, and another Italian journalist has said that Juventus are close to signing Jadon Sancho. Negotiations with the player underway for 5.5 million euros plus bonuses. Negotiations are continuing with Manchester United for 25 million euros, which is 21 million pounds. Another Italian outlet has said, though, that Napoli have now given up on the Jadon Sancho deal, which is interesting. However, Fabrizio Romano has summarised the situation with Sancho. So he said that 2 Italian clubs have already made contact with Sancho's camp. Juventus have called in recent days to be informed on deal conditions, while Napoli had a meeting with his camp, but both clubs are not willing to pay his entire salary as it is considered too high. The real issue, as sources say, paying a 25 million fee would not be a problem for Italian sides, but the salary is seen as a stumbling block. The player's decision will also be important to clarify what's going to happen next for his future, as Juventus and Napoli will both talk to Sancho directly to understand his desire and plans. No proposal or approach has been made by Borussia Dortmund so far. Fenerbahce have been linked with a move at the moment. They only called to be informed on the situation and deal conditions. No proposal has been sent to Sancho or Manchester United yet. So Fabrizio Romano, confirming the interest from Napoli and Juventus is probably further down the line than the Fenerbahce links, but also that one of the stumbling blocks is going to be his salary is seen as too high. So unless Jadon Sancho agrees and accepts a pay cut, we're going to be stuck in that situation with him again because he's got a year left on his contract. Like, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I can see why I can see him just running his contract down. Like, but I'd be surprised if he goes and takes a pay cut. I mean, it would be a bit of a shock. So, but if he does, then it's entirely up to him. But he's already refused a pay cut to go to Chelsea, unless he just didn't want to go to Chelsea, and then maybe he did want to move abroad and he fancies, going to Italy or going somewhere else as a change in scenery and to get out of the media spotlight and stuff. You don't know what's going on in people's worlds. But unless he agrees to a salary cut, it doesn't look like Juventus and Napoli are not going to pay him anywhere near what he's on now. So we'll need to wait and see how that one plays out. Christopher Michel, though, who's come out saying that Manchester United have contacted Juventus general manager Damian Camoli over a deal for Jadon Sancho. No agreement close, but Sancho can imagine a future at Juventus. So that's hopefully a sign that maybe he will agree some sort of price or some sort of salary reduction to get his move to Juve. I mean, it's a big club, big European club as well. A chance to, go and play football. Surely that's the most important thing for players, but we'll need to wait and see how that plays out. But give us your shouts and give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.